Hello, and happy Memorial Day. Um, to those of you who have partaken in the barbecue and did not send me over a brisket sandwich, I still love you. Welcome to He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. I am your host, Shar Selassie, attorney mediator at Law for Love, the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta. And here at Law for Love, we're committed to finding the truth by hearing what men or women are saying about our families, about our communities, about the way that we relate with one another. And so, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. We do have a special guest who will be joining us. Welcome in, sister Nayo Zeki, Auntie Darlene. Welcome. And we will be joined by our guest who was here for one of our very first episodes. Hey, family. Welcome in, Brother Walt. Brother Muhammad, he will be joining us. We had a little bit of a hiccup with him getting the confirmation for today. So he is getting camera ready so that we can have this conversation about the male ego. So I'm just let y'all know right now, we did not talk. I don't know what his take is. He might be getting ready to surprise me. This might become a very colorful conversation. But as you know, Brother Muhammad is near and dear to my heart because he has a love for our people. And is extremely frustrated and expresses a lot of frustration when it comes to the way that we relate with one another, not just men and women, but also Black men and how Black men regard each other, as well as the way that men and women are interacting with one another, because he comes from a generation that used to be strong, used to stick together. We used to fight for each other. We used to come through for one another in a different kind of way. And things have changed in the culture, and he's frustrated by these things. So I am just waiting for him to join us. In the meanwhile, I want to go ahead and preface that our discussion next week is going to be a deep dive into some biblical law, and we will be talking about the root and the fruit of honeymoon. So I will be going in on the brothers next week. So y'all just be prepared. I'm about to aggravate y'all. But let me go ahead and let Brother Muhammad in here. Hey.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, sister. It's always my pleasure.
Yes, I'm so glad that we were able to connect again, and thank you for the last minute hustle.
Yeah, it was. But it's okay. This is an important topic, and I'm glad that you think enough about me to even let me to share. So, thank you.
Oh, of course, you already getting love from the family. Big Red say, "Hey, but I was just sharing with the family, like, when it comes to you and your mindset and your mentality towards our people, like towards our community, like you're like that person who's like screaming from the top of a burning building saying, what are we doing, Black folk? How are we going to survive this if we don't look towards working with each other? And I appreciate you so much for that attitude.
And that is so true. I was thinking about you, the last couple of days. And, I think when we first met, I think I said to you, I said, hey, sister, I said, it's not by coincidence that we met. And because, what I believe, the fact that we who are on a certain vibration, we are going to meet those people, and we're going to connect with those people. However, we do see other people on different vibrations, but we really don't connect with them. So it's not by coincidence, that we met, and I don't take it lightly, and it's a very serious thing. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I appreciate that you have been tuning in and you heard my take on the brother Kevin Samuels. May he rest in peace. And some of the things that I took issue with. Now, again, a lot of the stuff he said, he was he was he was on point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear, what are your thoughts about the woman's responsibility to serve the man's ego?
Number one, the fact is that in my studies, over the years, and I tell you, I really began to study the ego back in 1980. Okay, and one of the most dangerous thing is the ego. Okay, because the ego is made up of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and so you have to be very careful with that. Okay, because due to the fact that if your emotions, ego is out of check, you allow you do just about anything. Okay, where someone say, hey, you know what, fill my ego, okay, because you have this emotional need, or you have this need for greed, so you know what, you go after those things. But to balance all of that, the fact of the matter is, how I see it, is the fact that you must still be kind, gentle, and where your wife, I'll put it like that, I don't say partner, okay, I say your wife, okay, or let's say you're dating, a sister. Hey, you know what, I don't believe that she's just there solely to feed your ego. No, I do not let my wife do that, and I won't do that, let nobody do that to me, or for me, because guess what, y'all have egos also. You know what I mean?
We do.
Yeah, and you have to look at it in the right perspective. You know what I mean? So I don't look at it, in terms of, what Brother Samuels was saying, myself personally. But again, peace and blessings be upon him. And I don't look at it, in terms of saying, hey, everything the brother say is right. But that's not to throw any any type of negative energy on him or anything like that. You know what I mean?
So and that, you know what? I appreciate that, because I don't think there's any person in the world, right, who agrees 100% with another human being. We all have a different worldview. We all have different experiences that color the way that we shape and form our opinions and our beliefs. But I appreciate it so much that he kind of really started this conversation for us to continue as a community.
Yes. Hold on 1 second. Important phone calls coming through. Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me see. I'm gonna try to give him some privacy if I can mute him. Let's see. How do we do this? Okay, I'm gonna mute him, and hopefully he can figure out how to unmute himself when he comes back. So, ladies, we have ego too, right? Our ego seems to go a little less exposed and talked about than the male ego. Why is that? Why is it that it seems like we tend to hone in on the male ego more than the female ego? And I mentioned it before, our ego as women is dressed up in a cute little outfit that looks like we taking care of other people. Our ego gets tied up in how much we sacrifice for everyone else. Society feeds into misandry, which is female ego driven. We use some matriculation words over here. Brother Muhammad, you'll have to unmute yourself. I muted you to make sure you had some privacy for your call.
I got it. Thank you.
All right. Yes. Welcome back.
I'm sorry about that, family. I really had to take this call. It was very, 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 very super important.
Brother Muhammad, I think I called you with 8 minutes notice. and you made it happen for us, sister. Look, the least I could do is give you a minute to go take an important phone call. So I appreciate you so much, and you're good. So I wanted to go ahead and dig in on this little point that you just made, because when you and I last spoke, you had a beautiful analogy of the president and the vice president. And I'm going to tell
Yes.
you, I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with that setup that you provided us during that conversation. But you just made the comment aligned with Brother Samuels and with my own brother concerning she my wife and not my partner. You want to unpack that?
Yeah, yeah, because I think that the talk today, or I would say the so-called concept, you know what I mean? Everybody want to twist and turn everything around to a certain point where, now we're not using the, far as I'm concerned, the right form of communication, meaning the fact that, guess what? Hey, this is my wife. Okay, which is a more deeper thing than a partner. I don't know if people out there that might not be old enough to know when you had Jerry Lewis and Jerry Lewis and this other man used to play these movies back in the day, just real early back in the days. And they used to always say, me and my partner, okay? And they were pretty much different. I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? And meaning that I don't have a partner, I have a wife, because a partner could be many things. You know what I mean? A wife, we understand that clearly what it is instead of my partner, okay? Because I can have a business partner say, hey, this is my partner. You know what I mean? Or I could use another verb, in terms of saying certain or giving certain analogies, but does that really come to the point, or that really explain, who my wife is? You simply say, hey, this is my partner. No, this is my wife.
Okay. So I'm hearing a nuance there with the way that you're saying partner, like, okay, partner is my, I guess what my generation would say, my homie, my friend, my my homeboy, that kind of thing, my friend. Um and I could see where that usage of the word partner is like, no, she my wife. And it, I'm hearing an esteem for her position that's special, and that's in a higher regard than your partner. Am I hearing that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Because, like you said, I'm putting her, on a pedestal, in terms of the show, or say, or if I introduce her to other people and in other environments, guess what? I'm showing a great deal of respect for my wife when I say that. You know what I mean? Saying, hey, you know what? This is not my partner. Well, that can mean many things again. But hey, this is my
Right,
wife. This is my
right,
wife. You know what I
right,
mean? So it's that makes it clear. Okay.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? We are married, we have a union. Because you're my partner, that does not necessarily mean we have that deep union in terms of one another.
I got it. Now you just reminded me of a conversation that we were having a few weeks ago that it stumped me. Brother Muhammad, it stumped me. The brother said that their wives are not their best friends. And I would love to hear you share with us what that means, because I speak to other women, and I'm among those women that my assumption is that as wife I am his best friend. But I'm hearing something else coming from the brothers. I need us to get an understanding together.
Yeah, if a brother tell me that, I will ask him, well, what do you mean? Where you're saying your wife is not your best friend. And the second question would be, hey, well, if she's not your best friend, why did you marry her? Okay, because when you talk about a serious union, okay, you have to be my best friend, okay, because now I'm running a whole lot of things past you. I'm laying there, we're having pillow talk, okay, you are helping me, I'm helping you. We are trying to make this household work. you know, in terms of our bills, in terms of making everything happen. You know, it's even a small thing is going out grocery shopping. Okay, I'm out. Okay, maybe she need a few dollars or whatever it may be. You know, hey, I got that for you. Okay, so we become best friends also. But just to say, hey, you're not my best friend, you got an issue there, as far as I'm concerned. How I see that.
Okay, let me be fair here, right? Because
Okay.
you know the person who kind of started this firestorm was
Hmm.
coming from this place of saying my best friend is my male friend. He is a person who I confide in differently than the way that I seek my wife's confidence. And I hope that that's a fair representation of what you were saying, brother. And when I kind of left that conversation like a little stunned and startled, like, wait a minute, what? And he wasn't the only brother saying this. And I had spoken to a therapist, one of my associates in the family space, and I mentioned it to her that this is what I was hearing some brothers in the community saying. And she said that her husband has the same attitude towards her in their relationship. And of course, we're talking about and to give some context generationally, we're talking about some 30 somethings, right? And she was very aware that, you know, her husband's college buddies were the ones who he considered his best friend. She's wife. They are, the male friend is the best friend. And is this something you've ever like? Is this generational? I'm still trying to digest this.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Okay, I'm not going to answer. I'm not answering a question with a question, but let me ask you this: are they Christians?
The therapist and her husband, yes.
Okay. Now, what does if you're believing in your Bible? Okay, you believe in the Scripture. What does it say when you get married? You cleave to your wife and wife cleave
Right,
to you.
right,
Okay.
right. That
So when
sounds
you're
like best
talking
friend to me.
exactly, well, exactly.
So what about you, Brother Muhammad? Do you have a close male friend, like your best male friend?
I do. And you know, his brother, you know what I mean? And matter of fact, he's in the Moore Science Temple. Okay. And me and him, you know, we talk, you know, some deep subjects, okay. But he's my best friend in terms of outside of my marriage. But when we talk about my deep best friend in terms of my connection with my wife, is no comparison. You know what I mean? I can say, you know what I mean? Okay, you know, he's a good friend. You know, he probably my best friend that I have, I associate with and communicate with. Okay, but there still is a difference in terms of him being my best friend outside of my marriage.
Best
Okay.
friend
And, and
outside.
and and I make that, you know, I make that very clear. You know what I mean? You know, because guess what? Certain things that me and him may talk about, uh, uh, um, I'm more deeper with my wife in terms of running certain things past her and getting into a conversation with her. You mean than I would do with him? Because you know you're talking about the intimacy, you're talking about other things that may go along with that. Okay, you know I'm not being intimate with him. You see what I'm saying? That's just me. I
Right,
mean, you know, and
right,
I'm not going to apologize for that either. You know what I mean? You know, but
right.
and other things, you know, may come up, you know, during that conversation, or me, or during the act of certain things. Okay, but my point is, okay,
Right,
is the fact that hey, me and him, we just can't go. We just can't go in that direction. Okay.
right. So when you put it in that perspective, right? Because I feel like that's where I and the sisters were coming from. You know, we had one comment here: you can't cleave to a friend, you cleave to your husband or your wife. And we have another comment here. He can see what you mean because English stuck. So now he's talking about like the way that we use language. So the
Yes.
word friend describes people close to us. Wife is close, like the one definition of friend, but she also is not bound to you. Let me see. That's a long one. How do I get it all up here? She's not bound to. Did you continue this, Brother Red? You writing dissertation? To the other definition of friends. So it looked like Brother Red is trying to say our use of language, friend, like there's a category of friends. So the wife is a type of relationship versus the male friend. But I don't know. I'm agreeing with Brother Muhammad on this one. Like, who gonna be closer to you than your wife?
That is correct. You know what I mean? And not only that, I'm looking at that, you know what I mean? And thank you, brother, for the comment, however, when you're talking to someone, or I would never tell my wife, hey, you know what, outside of her, hey, this is my best friend, meaning the fact that, you know what, we are closer to each other than you. Okay. If they mean that. Okay. So I want to be clear about that, in terms for me personally, okay, it is the fact, and I always tell my wife a lot of times too, hey, you know what, you're my best friend, okay, because due to the fact that the things that we have to do, the things that is concerning, in our marriage. So that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? For me personally.
Okay, so here's a little discussion about it. All right, you're correct, but she's not a friend like how it's traditionally used. She's a friend, but she's closer than a normal friend.
That is
I mean, that
correct.
sounds like what you were saying.
Yes.
Let me see. Yes, other languages have multiple ways. It's just like we have different words for love, right? So we
That is
have
correct.
love between friends, we have the
That is
love between
correct.
a husband and a wife, like different types of words. But I will say, and look, a lot of times, when my feelings hurt, I'm in the habit of knowing how to take that thing to the altar and just go ahead and lay it down there and just get my head. When I hear more than one brother say something similar, then I guess for me, it's understanding where that part of you as a man is not accessible to your wife. Is there like a space that's reserved for your male friend that's so different than your closeness to her that although she's on the pedestal above him, he still has a special reservation in terms of the type of confidences that you share with him?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I take my brother, Refugee Dexter, what happened? Okay, is the fact that certain subjects, we talk about. And you know what I mean? Like I said, I had him in a category where, you're outside of my family, the deep part of the conversations that me and my wife may have, okay? But you as an individual, brother, is the fact that, hey, we still can run things past each other. And not only that, but I still look at, the brother, if I need something in terms of maybe, let's say my car breakdown or things like that, you mean that friendship extend further than just the words of saying you are my friend. Okay. Other components are involved with that, where, hey, you know what, hey, I need you to help me out in the area here, there, where certain things, my wife won't be able to do, meaning the fact that, guess what, if I need my tire change. Okay, not saying women can't change a tire, you know what I mean? But I'm saying, the fact that maybe I might need your muscle a little bit, where you may be able to help me, lift this big refrigerator and carry it into the house. You know what I mean? Something like that. But
when I was
go ahead.
considering it, I was thinking about like that relationship between David and Jonathan. Like they were close, like brother close,
Yes.
And so, I mean, if you have someone who's a brother to you, brother is brother. Brother is not wife. Wife can't compete with brother because brother is a different kind of relationship. And I'm just trying to make sense of it because I'm not trying to set nobody up to have to compete with their man friend. I also want to be respectful of those relationships that are kind of special. So, as you're talking, I'm thinking through it. Do you feel like your friend that you're talking about, like he's your brother?
I do. I do. I do. And matter of fact, we have probably, God bless my brother's, soul. He passed away. God bless him. But for I've been knowing Rachel, for over 25 years. Okay. And we have a better, I would say, bond than my fleshly brother. You know what I mean? Because that's how we communicate. You know what I mean? And that I mentioned earlier about the vibration in terms of people who you can really connect with. Just because you're born into a family which we have no choice about, that don't mean that everybody in that family is going to see eye to eye.
Right.
And so he's just a good friend.
Right.
Someone I respect, someone that I respect his opinion. I don't agree with everything he say. He don't agree with everything I say, but we know how to balance all of that and say, hey, you know what, brother, you can say certain things. Hey, I take that, and I don't necessarily agree, but guess what? We still brothers. You see what I'm saying?
He all right with me. You know why?
Yeah, he's all right with me. Yes,
you know why he's all right with me though?
Yeah.
Because you ain't that nice. You got a strong opinion. So that brother got to be the kind of brother that, like y'all don't see eye to eye. He don't take it personally. He's not an emotional man.
No, he's not. No. Yeah, you got to be
kind of somebody to roll with Brother Muhammad, because Brother Muhammad don't sugarcoat it.
No, you know why? Because look, you know what? When you look at our community, we are in a sad state right now. You know what I mean? This gender war going on. Where look, sister, how many nationalities will say, I don't need a man? How ridiculous that sounds crazy. I mean, I don't know no other nationality would get on the internet and do all of that. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. I mean, I don't need a man. You know what I mean? I got my job. I'm independent, but you're not really independent, sis. Okay, because that, hey, those folks decide, hey, you know what? You're not working today for them, or they're not working, or you're not qualified anymore. You're done.
Right.
You're done.
Right.
I don't know.
Brother Red said white women do it. You know what? According to Pastor Darby, our beloved Pastor Darby, may his soul rest in peace. His theory was that Black women were dragged into feminism by white women.
That's true. Yes. I go along with that. Yeah. I go along with that. Yes.
We were feminists. We were needing each other. Our men needing our women as much as our women need our men, and we got separated from one another. And one of the movies that he points to that really personally hits me real hard, because it was one of the movies that conditioned me as a young woman, was The Color Purple. And all of the feminism in The Color Purple that depicted Black men as monsters. Starting from the beginning, every piece of that movie was just a fail for Black men. And it taught us that our men are not safe, our men cannot be trusted, and our men are not for us.
And you know what? I knew you was going to say The Color Purple. I knew that. I said, here it comes. You know what I mean? But I was listening to one sister today, and she was saying, she put up the movie Color Purple, and she basically was saying the fact that Black men are monsters, and they don't let the woman go out and be productive. They don't let the woman go out and be creative in their space. And I'm like, you know what, sister? To me, hey, you haven't been around long enough, okay? Because when I go back through my history and seeing certain things that happened in the South during Jim Crow, hey, that never happened, in my family. That never happened in my family. So, so what they're talking about, I don't know. Because when I look at the divorce rate in my family, my grandmother didn't get divorced. None of my uncles, none. On my mom's side or on my dad's side. that just was not allowed, and we stuck it out. And then, of course, the history behind who we are and things like that, from Thurgood Marshall and look at the Brown versus the Board of Education. You know what I mean? And so I'm saying, okay, it's the fact that we had to stick together in terms of making certain things happen. Okay, even me now, dealing with, my girls, it's not about me. Okay, it's about the unit in terms of the family structure. And I have to put certain things aside, say, hey, you know what? It's for the family. It's for, hey, my daughters. It's for making sure, hey, certain things operate in a fashion where everyone need to see, hey, how we're doing certain things, and let's get it done.
Now, I like to circle back to the conversation about the ego.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like for you to weigh in, because you said women have egos too. Do you want to unpack that statement?
Well, the ego, and I sort of have a disagreement, because my wife, she's a therapist too. Okay, I mean, she a lot of times she'll bring up Sigmund Freud, and during my studies, Sigmund Freud, he got a lot of his teachings from Hinduism. Okay, his parents was Hindus, and when you look at the ego, that's nothing new in terms of the history of the religion in terms of Hinduism. So I'm getting to a point with all of this, and that is the fact that when Sigmund Freud talked about the ego, okay, the Western scholars will say, he's the father of that study. He's not. Okay, but my point is, is the fact that when we look at the ego is made of what? Thoughts and emotions. And we have to be to a point where we have to understand the thought process, because how can I make you feel if I say something that's out of the way to you? Okay, you think about it. You say, hey, I don't like that. That don't make me feel well. Okay, then you say, hey, you know what? Is my ego hurt? Of course it would be. But what made that? What made it to the point where your ego got hurt? It was because of the thought process. When you begin to process that thought, what was said to you, your ego jump up, and all of a sudden, that there's the issue with that. You mean, so we have to be very careful.
So I'm understanding your response then a little bit more, like on the fundamental level. You're saying we're all, as beings, we have this aspect to ourselves. And
absolutely.
So when you were responding to my take on it, I was coming from the biblical perspective of lust, right? Like pride, like your need to feel in command or in charge, because the brother talked a lot about this vertical relationship of the kids belong to you and you belong to me and I belong to God. And so that screamed of pride to me. So when I used the word ego, I was speaking definitely to the aspect of pride, and then acknowledging that we have ego as well. Yes, fundamentally, as you were saying, absolutely, but also that women, we struggle with having pride, and our pride tends to go a little more undetected because of the way that we feed our pride, because it appears that we're taking care of other people. A lot of times it looks like we're taking care of everybody else, but a lot of women operate in that pride of everything I do for everybody else, because they're looking for some glory or some recognition from doing that. So I'm having a better understanding of what you were saying about we all, yes, absolutely, we all have ego, the mind, the will, the emotions. But what are your thoughts about, where I was coming from with pride and lust? And the
and that's part of the ego, and that's part of the ego. Okay, now you have to be very careful, because the ego can get you in a lot of trouble. Okay, meaning the fact that it can be a danger to a person. Okay, when you have certain thought process, and that thought process begin to give you certain emotions, and then when you start dealing with those type of emotions, then you have to fulfill maybe that thought process and say, you know what, I have to have my ego stroke. Okay, and so the question come up: in which way do you need your ego to be stroked? Okay, and then in essence to make me feel better. Okay, make me feel a certain way. But if I'm coming at a person and making them stroking their ego, and they begin to be unbalanced, now you're in a danger zone.
So there's a
Okay,
balanced ego that I'm hearing you
definitely,
talk about.
definitely, because if let's say that I'm not saying, but when you look at your thought process and where is your thoughts really coming from? Okay, that's another deep subject. Okay, what generate that thought? Now, if you're having a negative thought, how do you stop that negative thought for exploding? Meaning the fact that it'd be like a domino effect. Boom, 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 boom. It can go deep, like the rabbit hole. Okay. But if you're in tune to that process and you say, hey, you know what, I can stop that. Because guess what? I can stop the thought today. Because a negative thought coming over here. Let's
I mean, we're supposed to exercise dominion over our thoughts, right?
that
Like
is
that's the
correct.
most powerful aspect of our being is our mind and our thinking. And so we
That
are
is
not to be
correct.
dominated or controlled by anything external to us. We are supposed to be in command of the way that we think. But I'm gonna put a pin right there because I want to share a video of what I think lust looks like. And the issue
Mhm.
that I'm on, the spiritual issue, is lust. But we have a question for you from one of the family members, and this is going back to the statement that about your generation and your uncles and your family and the phenomenon of divorce. It wasn't happening in your family and in that generation. The question here is, did the husbands treat their wives well in those days?
From my perspective, absolutely. I'll take my mom's, and this is personal here, okay, for me. My mom's never worked a day in her life. Okay. Could she have? Absolutely, she could have. Okay. But she enjoyed her family so much and being the wife that she would say no. She used to say, hell no. Tell my dad, hell no, honey. Hey, I'm fine just where I'm at. All the time. She said, you go out here and do what you got to do. And hey, she said, I'll take care of things and make certain things happen. Now, uh, 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 I thought they did. You know what I mean? Did you have issues and problems? Of course. Of course. Okay. But everybody always came to the table to make certain things work and make certain things happen. Okay.
Now,
To the
I'm
point where,
saying
guess
the
what?
first I'm saying the first thing came to my mind, Brother Muhammad,
Okay.
because I've heard it said that there was a generation of women who had to kind of put up with knowing that their men were not faithful, and it was a breed of us that just kind of like,
Mhm.
well, as long as he come home. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, that's always been the case in me, even when you go back to biblical times, okay, where men and even women, okay, did their thing. You know what I mean? In terms of not so-called not being faithful. Okay, so how are we going to deal with that? See, are we looking for the perfect scenario? No, no, we can't have the perfect scenario. No such thing. Okay, uh, do I have issues? Yes. Do other family members have issues in my family? Yes. Okay. But however, okay, we work through those things. Okay. And so when we look at the fact that the other parts, my other family members, you know what I mean, like my dad, my grandmoms, my great grandparents, um, they had issues, you know what I mean? But they look at it, and I believe the fact that they look at the fact that you know what, hey, we must keep certain things together, okay, and we must build each other up, and that's what they did. So I don't know if I answered the question, that they
Well,
give you
I
the
know I
go.
put you on the spot. I know I put you on the spot because I had a family, and one of the sisters just brought it up where I met with this family to do their estate plan, and they've been married 60 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And my first question, of course, as a youngish marriage, right? What's the key? What's the key to success? And they both kind of had a little similar answer. Well, you just work together and you figure it out. That was the answer, the classic wisdom, right? But when the husband got up and walked out the room, she leaned in, the wife leaned in, and she dropped her voice. She said to me, where was I supposed to go? And I was like, we in this generation, we have a little more access to our own resources in ways that give us a little more flex. One of the first responses you made was that your mother had the freedom and the joy of loving on her family. She didn't have to work. And to a lot of our brothers, that's what they believe is ideal for us, is not to have to work. Now, mind you, I'd love for work to be an option if I didn't have to work. But I'm not convinced that not working is, necessarily proof of being treated well, especially if he out there in them streets. I mean, like, isn't that how Al Green got them grits?
Not the grits. Not the grits.
I'm just asking for a grit. It gets to be a lot. And I will put this out there because I've said it here before. From my biblical vantage point, I do believe that it's lawful for a man to have multiple wives. But the way it's set up over here in this country, it's not, it doesn't function well. And we are not conditioned. We're not conditioned or prepared for why that might be necessary for us to build as a nation. Because
that is correct. That is correct.
We as incubators, we can only carry one baby in a 9-month term, right? But a husband being a seed bearer, he can build he can build a tribe through multiple wives in a way that's more efficient than just one wife. And I also believe that there's a community aspect that works when this is the culture and this is the expectation, and you set up to support each other. And we're gonna dive into that a lot when we talk next week. But I know I put you on the spot.
Yeah. Okay, now one thing is the fact that when you look at back in the day, during Jim Crow, yes, some of our moms and grandmothers, they got married, okay, for survival reasons also, okay, because they had to survive, okay, so they knew that, hey, guess what, my clan had all of this particular land, okay, and my family was one of the so-called richest family, in that area in South Carolina, okay, because we had close to 500 acres. And so you can just imagine a big farm like that. Now, some of the women, of course, they was coming at my uncles, for survival reasons and things like that, because a lot of the other families in that area, they were sharecroppers. Okay, so the sister who asked that question, yeah, that probably did happen, but the fact is that I look at it, in terms of, hey, where we are today. You know what I mean? So I look at it, in terms of, hey, I understand the survival type of mentality that had to happen. Okay. But was that such a bad thing in terms of how we as a community begin to evolve and to develop? Okay. It's not like the fact that you could walk into the building, and the building just beautiful Ephesus, big church, beautiful, and all of that stuff. Okay. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. What you want to build? Okay. Are you willing to go through the struggle? Are you willing to take the downfalls, or are you willing to say, you know what? Yeah, sometimes this may hurt. Okay. But I'm looking at
we have a lot of healing opportunities as a people, right? Because
bring it back again.
We definitely have a lot of healing opportunities as a people. Opportunities, healing.
Okay, we say opportunities. What do you mean?
opportunities for
What
us.
the word mean? But in what context are you
As,
using that in?
as a people, our history, our shared history, is a traumatic history.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even when we're having this conversation about a certain generation, it was
Mm-hmm.
about our survival from a standpoint of surviving cruelty, right?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
I had another comment here that I have up here for you. The sister said that her grandmother-in-law was forced to marry at 16 to a man who was twice her age, and she hated every bit of it. You know, these are the kind of experiences that are among our people when it comes to a generation that didn't have as many options as we have today, the women of today. But I do sometimes feel like we've kind of the pendulum has swung
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
real
Mm-hmm.
far, right? The independent, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need a man thing is way
Mm-hmm.
the way opposite extreme. So when I say opportunities to heal, I'm talking about our collective trauma.
But see, let me say this much. Okay, the sister who made that comment, okay, was she's being I take that. Let me rephrase this. Okay, I'm taking that comment, in terms of the hurt of the past. Okay, because we're not the only ones, had to go through certain things in certain marriages like that. In this whole global type of man versus woman type of concept. Okay, so when you even look at the scriptures, okay, you're talking about some of them women was getting married at 12 years old. Okay, so when you talk about 16, then you mentioned the fact that, okay, you know what, my grandmother hated every bit of it. Okay, fine. Okay, I understand that. Okay, but my point is, okay, is the fact that that's not what I'm coming from, in terms of trying to litigate right now. Okay, I'm just saying, the fact of the matter is that when we look at the overall synopsis or overall the big picture of everything, okay, where did that leave us? You know what I mean? Even to this day. I give you a good example. Let's take the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King in Coretta. Okay, Mrs. King. If she decided that she wanted to go on to Sally Raphael, Oprah, or all of them other shows, okay, and she could have said certain things about her husband, where would we be today?
Well,
Okay, so we finish.
yeah.
Okay, now the fact of the matter is that she saw the big picture. Okay, in terms of, hey, it's not about me. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I'm saying that I have that same mentality to this day in terms of, hey, you know what? My family, how they operate. Let me say this also, okay? It is the fact that my wife has a PhD. And guess what? She's not working. Who's taking care of everything? I am. That phone call came through. It was because she was handling some business for the family. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So when you look at one scenario in terms of the negative, now let's not necessarily focus on that. Let's look at the positive and say, you know what can I learn in that positive situation? Okay, because I could always look at a negative situation and I could be stuck there. Not saying the sister was stuck there, okay? But what I'm saying, okay, it is the fact that I'm looking at it, in terms of, hey, how we are going to heal. Okay. Is there someone that we could look at and say, hey, you know what? Is this person a good prime example in terms of giving us information? Or maybe I want to be or have similar concepts in my relationship as someone else that maybe I'm listening to.
So I appreciate the forward-looking aspect of let's not get stuck on the past. Let's not hone in on the negative. Let's not make the negative an excuse for us not doing better. But I will say this, that we do as a people, and this is no shade to no one else's community.
Mhm.
I'm not a person who wants to sit and say our pain is worse than your pain. I'm not sitting up here trying to compare scars. But when it comes to collective trauma as a people, A
Mm-hmm.
part of our healing is acknowledging the elephant in the room. A part of our healing is talking about the wounds that we carry. And us having those shared experiences and having those conversations in safe spaces is a part of how we heal, is a part of how we look at each other and see each other for who we really are. Because in order for me to no longer see Black men as villains, which was my programming, I had to learn how to see the heart of a Black man. I had to learn to see that I wasn't the only one in my marriage who had feelings. But in order to get there, I had to have conversations about the things that hurt, the things that wounded. And that
Mm-hmm.
to me is a part of the healing process. One of the biggest issues that I have with my grandmother's generation was that everything was kind of like, don't talk about it. You just everybody understood certain things was happening and didn't talk about it. And then my mother's generation came along, and one of their biggest gripes and complaints against my grandmother was like, they never talked about these things. Nobody ever talked to us about certain things. And now, I'm sitting in the seat where I have nieces coming into their young
Mm-hmm.
adulthood, and now I have that
Mm-hmm.
pressure on me to start having some conversation. And I'm raw. Like when I'm talking to
Mm-hmm.
the young women, I don't hold back, because that was the downfall of my grandmother's generation. And she still won't have certain conversations.
Mm-hmm.
As
Let
much
me
as I
say this
love
much.
her,
Let me
I
say this
don't
much.
force it.
I understand what you were saying, you know me, and I do, agree, however, I need to add this, and that is the fact that growing up, being an athlete, going to a predominantly white school, my dad and my family members, none of them ever came to any of my games. As a matter of fact, I played down at the University of Tennessee with Contridge Holloway, who was the first African American quarterback for Tennessee. Okay, we was on the same team. But my point is, is the fact that as time went on, I understood some things, okay, you know what I mean, in terms of the greatness, in terms of my dad, okay, although he never came to any of the games. And so that superseded my emotional feelings in terms of looking at my dad and dealing with my father to say, you know what, Dad, it's okay. Okay, now I really truly understand, okay, the fact that he didn't even know what football really was about, okay, but the fact is that he still was proud of his son. And certain things that he did, I disagreed with him in a lot of areas. But as I gotten older, I understood some things, in terms of why he was doing and what he did. And I look at the fact that he did all right, okay, because I'm all right. You know, my
I
sister is
like
all right.
that.
My brother is all right. You know what I mean? Because again, that's what I say. You mean I could look at the negative, okay? Of course, there was negatives, but however, I internalized that negative and came out with something positive about the whole situation. Okay, where I didn't fester and let that fester in me in terms of being angry at my dad or even at my mom's.
I like
Um,
that. I think, and that's the conversation that I have with a lot of folk that are older than me when it comes to what they didn't receive. My
mhm,
response is always that your mother gave you what she had to give. Your father
that is
gave
correct.
you what he had to give. And
That is
there's
correct.
total love and acceptance from me when it comes to receiving what we got, because that was what you knew. My
Hmm.
position is,
Hmm. Hmm.
once we know, because our people perish for lack of knowledge.
Knowledge. Hmm.
So once we know better, then that puts a burden on us to do better as an older generation with the knowledge that we have and how we're transferring that knowledge to the next generation so that they can make it beyond where we were able to make it. Because these bad things that we don't want to fester, we don't want to harp on it, we don't want to become unforgiving or bitter. I agree with you 100% when it comes to that. I just feel that there's more, and at least I take it as my responsibility with the things that I now know that was not information that was available to my mother and that my grandmother didn't pass along, that it's on me to pass this down to my.
That is correct. That is correct. And you know something to your sister real quick here, and that is the fact that when I say about the positives, okay, I could have said, you know what I mean, well, my dad this, thus, and thus, and I can throw that out, okay? But on the end of it, that's why I said and gave you that scenario in terms of what my dad and who he was, okay? Because the fact is that I just don't want to be in a position. I won't not put myself in a position to look at the negatives in terms of family and our community all the time, you know what I mean, without coming up and saying, okay, it ended up being positive because, again, like you were saying, it is the fact that what they did what they had to do because of what they know. And not only that, when we look at the powers that be, okay, all of this is not by coincidence. I give a good example. I was talking about this today. You know what I mean? For the last, I say for the last couple of days. Let me start off. I have some stock with Coca-Cola. Okay. Now, if let's say that we look at, especially on the financial end, we go to certain churches, we go to certain organizations, and we begin to talk about, you know what I mean, the government need to do this, or vote for me, I can have this done for you, this and that and the other. My question to you, sister, real quick, Coca-Cola is in what state? The headquarters?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you. Now, very powerful here. If we was taught to take that money and put it in an investment of Coca-Cola, we'd have been millionaires today, the whole community. Because what I did, okay, we ended up putting $30,000 into a Coca-Cola stock with the dividends being reinvested after I think it's 12-year period, 13 years period of time, we'd have $500,000. Okay, and so what I'm saying, okay, is the fact that when you look at the teachings and you look at all of the stuff that come at us as a people, this is not by coincidence. Can you imagine people down in Atlanta, Georgia, because I was there for a minute, had that type of money to deal with? Huh? Can you just think about that?
And we also know what happened to our people when our people did build Black Wall Street and Rosewood, and when we started to get our footing financially, we know how that story ends, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm saying, okay, yeah, exactly. I know how the story ended. Man, we did this back in 2011. Okay, so I'm saying we're talking about a different mindset now than back in Black Wall Street, in terms of now we are a lot smarter, because I'm quite sure, hey, you know what? You got $1 million in assets sitting there. Everybody around you have that. Hey, guess what? We talking about a different scenario.
We definitely will talk about a different scenario, and you know what? And that's why that's why we got to figure out where we belong with one another before we come up in terms of this type of community influence that has been growing and growing and growing. Within, our people becoming educated and getting in positions of influence, and now you have African nations rising up to kind of cast off the colonial overseas, right? And so while we're taking a position in the world to say we're not letting anyone have their foot on our neck anymore, how much more important it is for us to have these conversations about our family and where we belong with one another, men and women. Let me read this comment real quick, because I have to blow the comments up to see them, y'all. Serve a man's ego. If he's doing what he's supposed to do as the head,
stop right there.
Okay.
if he's doing what he's supposed to do as the head. Really? Okay. What is his job as the head of the family? That's the question. Okay. Now, if he's secure in himself, okay, again about the ego. First of all, okay, do this person know what the ego really is? Okay, is it the fact that I'm going to do what I need to do? What type of teachings are you dealing with in terms of making major decisions? Okay, now if he's doing what he's supposed to do as the head, what does that mean, sir? What does that mean? Okay, now I'm gonna be seriously. Let's analyze ourselves, and I'll say, let me analyze me for a minute. What do I need to do to make certain things happen? I must go out to make sure, okay, it's not about me now. Okay, it's about the fact that I must continue to do what I need to do to make my family prosper, grow. So if I look at it in terms of just my ego, what part of that ego that I'm dealing with, and how am I going to deal with that part of that ego? And again, where does the ego come from?
Does your wife serve your ego, Brother Muhammad?
I would say in the right perspective. Okay, meaning the fact that I know that, hey, certain things have to be done today. Okay, hey, look, hon, you know what? I don't know if that's the ego part of it, but I look at my ego personally as being in self-control. Okay, looking at it in terms that the position that I hold as a husband, and I don't need a person to fulfill that part of me, because I feel that me and my God can handle certain things, because everything is not going to look. I don't look for someone to be a fulfillment for me in terms of my ego. I don't.
So stop right there. I'm glad you said that. Because this is where I think your perspective and my perspective cross paths. So when I hear the word ego and the service or the management of a man's ego, as that philosophy goes, to me, I just kept going back to lust and the principle or the law that lust is never satisfied. And that is why I want to share this video of what I think lust looks like. If lust had a face and a body, this is what I believe it looks like. Let me pull this video up for you real quick. Hold on. Where is it? Which one is it? Okay, this one. It's a real quick video. Oh, hold on.
I want to go places.
Mr. Ramey used to come by here, and Mr. Ramey try to take you out, you wine you down, you went in. Roderick down there got.
This is what I believe lust look like.
And man, I want to alone. I want to go places.
Mr. Ramey used to come by here, and Mr. Ramey try to take you out, you wine you down, and you weren't interested. Roderick down there got.
I don't want Roger.
I ain't say Roderick. I said Vernon.
I don't want Bo Burner.
Huh? Say what?
He old. He got wrinkles.
He got wrinkles. Yeah, but he's single.
So
you see, that's the thing. You being too picky.
I know that right, because I want the right thing for glory.
See, you don't really want to cook for nobody.
Oh, whoa! I cooked today.
Right, Jarvis cooked.
I cook. No chopping rice.
The man next door right there.
That man got 2 children. They be getting out the bug.
So?
I don't want no man got no children. Help me out. Is you gonna help me or what?
I tried to help you.
I don't want no man married. I don't want no man got a girlfriend. I don't want no man got children. There are a lot of black men in the world. I ain't got nobody but what they
Wait. So see, now you being picky. Why just black men? You got a Chinese men. I mean Asian. I try to give you 2 black men right there, Roger.
I'm gonna knock your ass out. I won't, Roger.
Bother me.
So I couldn't stop watching this video. But I was like,
Well, sis, remember I said in the beginning, I said your ego could get you in trouble. Remember when I said that? Okay, your ego can get you in a lot of trouble. And so that's why I posed that question back, okay? That what type of ego or I was
that was
what type
that
of stuff? What was,
wait, all right.
Yeah.
That was lust. That was the personification of lust. All you think about is what you want.
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct.
Is what make you feel good. And to me, when I hear someone saying that a woman's role is to serve the ego of a man, or when I consider lust, generally speaking, it's someone who wants somebody else to make them feel good. And that is a major issue for me.
And you know what? And I think it should be, okay, because it's due to the fact that, again, okay, when you asked me the question about do my wife, in essence, stroke my ego, and I really had to go deep with that, okay, in terms of saying, you know what, hey, I am who I am, okay, meaning the fact that, guess what, I don't depend on that. I don't.
You don't depend on it, Brother Muhammad, but I can tell that you take pleasure in knowing that you take care of your wife.
Absolutely. Because I don't know how many. Look, when I put my girls to bed, okay, I could see it's like, you know, you are moms, okay, and I thought about this too. I said, you know, you're gonna have this conversation, you know, one day more deeper. Look, you are a mother. How does it make you feel when you see your son in his bed? He feels so comfortable. You knowing that, hey, you know, now your husband feel comfortable. These are feelings that generate, and they're priceless. You know, because you're saying, wow, these are type of emotions and feelings that you can't buy. You know, and so when you have that connection in terms of that type of scenario, it's a beautiful thing. You know, it has no price.
And that's where you and I see eye to eye, because you said something very important when you began to talk about yourself and analyzing your role as the head of your house. The first thing you said was about taking care of everyone else. And to me, that is a way of counterbalancing the ego.
Yes.
And I'm hearing you kind of develop an idea around keeping the ego in check.
Absolutely.
I'm on the lookout for self-serving lust. That aspect of the ego to the extreme self-seeking. And how so many people want relationships, they want to get married because in their mind, this person gonna make me feel good. Or make me whole, or I'll be complete.
Yeah.
And so what if this is a fair, summary of what you're saying, my ego is my responsibility.
It is.
To keep in check.
It is.
To keep in balance. And my
is.
identity is between me and my maker.
That is correct.
Not depending on somebody else.
That is correct.
Well, Brother Muhammad, we have been
real quick before we go.
I'm about to give you these kind of words.
You see, when that ego is not fed, again, I talked about the emotions, and the emotions come out could be anger, disappointment, because you feel the fact that this person should do what you think they should do. then it's going to be a conflict. Like the lady sitting there, well, I don't want this, I don't want that. No, okay, a lot of things I don't want, but guess what? I have to put things in the proper perspective and say, you know what? This is what's needed. Okay, this is what needed. And so as I do certain things, you know, in my household, okay, I know, hey, guess what? Certain things are needed. Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter how I feel. How many times, sister, have you got out there and you didn't feel like doing certain things, okay, for the family, you know, for your husband and for your son? Many a days, I'm quite sure, as I have. But guess what? We go and do it. Okay, my ego want to be stroked. Oh, you all right? Look how they're talking to you. You know what I mean? And so you having that eternal talk to yourself. Okay, and again, okay, and I would say, okay, thought, what do you mean by that? Where are you coming from? Let me stop you right there. And some people, you know, and some people will say, especially when old folks used to say, well, the devil is talking to me. That's what they used to say. They didn't understand the fact that, or they couldn't put it in the terms that maybe me and you would put it in today. Okay, but I understand what they're saying. Well, the devil's talking to me. No, devil, sit down. Get behind me. Okay. It's the thoughts that you are generating, okay, to give you a negative outcome. So you have to recognize that. If you don't, you're going to have some problems.
Yes.
You know, and like I say, you see what I'm wearing. Okay, I didn't get this by somebody handed to me. It took years to get this. Okay, I ain't saying no more about that. I can't. You know what I mean? You know, but
right.
It's a process.
Yeah, well, you know, I appreciate that. And, you know, the word that came to my mind with what you were saying about putting your own ego in check was that it is our responsibility to take every thought captive that raises itself against the knowledge of Yah. That's right, the biblical perspective that I'm coming from, which is contrary to the knowledge of truth and love, because that is the essence of who Yah is. So anything that's contrary to the essence of who Yah is as truth and love, my job is to take that thought and to cast it down and to put it up under my authority. And
that is correct.
You know, you had a.
But see, everybody's not like you, sister. Let me say this much, okay? I thought about you, man. You have my prayers a lot too. Okay, you and your family, okay? And again, remember what I said, okay, in the beginning, okay, when we first met, we cut from the same cloth. It's not by coincidence. You know what I mean? You know, that's how the universe operates. You know what I mean? But I also wanted to add this too, okay? But one of the sisters said about her grandmother got married at 16. I don't know if she studied the fact about Sears and Roebuck. Remember, Sears and Roebuck used to sell heroin to the white women out there in the Midwest, and she can research it. Okay, where they used to call it some type of coping, some type of antidote for coping for stress. Okay, they sold Sears and Roebuck. They sold heroin. Okay, and it would even send you
the same way Coca-Cola put cocaine in the drink.
Yes. And so what I'm saying, okay, when you look at all of these things that have happened, hey, we're messed up people. You know what I mean? You know, and it's not necessarily. I was like this. So many things came at us, and so that's why I said at the end I understood some things, and I said, you know what? My dad was a good man. Okay, kept his family together. He wasn't abusive. Did they have pillow talk? I'm quite sure they did, but they didn't let me know about it. And quite frankly, I don't want to know about it.
Okay? No, nobody wants to think about their like that.
That is correct. That is correct. And one more thing too, since one day we'll talk about. I'm trying to be gentle with this because it's a serious thing. I don't want nobody spying on us because they will do that.
Brother Muhammad, all of my conversations are monitored because I'm just a knucklehead. So it ain't nothing you can't say here. You just say it with your chest.
But anyway, things that come at us, okay, certain things we don't understand as the people in our neighborhoods, okay, and one of the things that I've been looking at was the Ukraine war, and how and the Wall Street Journal did an article on it about how money is being laundered through the Ukraine war. But my point is, again, okay,
we are gonna have to be delicate when we have that conversation.
exactly.
That's the kind of conversation getting people's channels knocked off the internet. So
yes.
let's not strategize on how we gonna do that. But look, Brother Muhammad, you know I have nothing but love for you, brother. I appreciate you so much for being a father in our community and bringing that passion, bringing that conversation, bringing that confrontation to not just the brothers, but to the sisters too. You're an equal opportunity offender, and that's why I appreciate you so much. Because that's how we get better. Iron sharpens iron, and there's a striking that has to take place in order for you to sharpen iron. And so you are a very important part of that. And thank you for taking your place in our community to have these conversations. I'm getting feedback from the family how much they appreciate this conversation.
And one more thing too, sister. I want to throw this at you real quick too. One more thing too, sister. Keep in mind and just meditate on it and look at it, with a deep sense of urgency. Now, remember when Moses took the children out of Egypt? Okay, they wanted the desert for 40 years. The question should be why? Why did they want that desert for 40 years?
I could have a whole Bible study on that one because there was a generation that had to die off.
Bingo.
You could take the slave out of the chains, but if they still got the chains on their mind,
bingo,
they're not equipped for the liberty and the freedom of the promise.
That is correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're one of the thinkers of your generation, which is why I have so much respect for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would sum up a lot of what you said with what my husband says all the time. He says, covenant is doing what I'm supposed to do in spite of you, in spite of what you do. I'm going to do.
That's correct. Yes. That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is absolutely.
Yeah, and so that was the takeaway.
Yeah, and I don't want no pat on the back, but now you're feeding my ego. You know what I mean? Oh, thank you. No, baby girl. Hey, this is my position. This is my job. Okay, I'm all right with it. Okay, but I thank you for anyway. You know what I mean? But hey, guess what? My joy, my happiness come in terms of me doing this for you and making sure everything operates properly. I'm happy about that.
You all right with me, especially since you came through and called your wife your best friend. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and catch up with you backstage, and I'm gonna make some closing remarks real quick. I'll be right there.
Okay, all right.
So y'all know I don't know how to do this thing. All right, so thank y'all, family, for joining us for He Say, She Say Family Coach Live with our honored guest, Brother Muhammad. Y'all know I appreciate this brother so much, and I hope that you were able to glean some insight, some encouragement, some understanding from the ton of wisdom that he represents from his generation. Thank y'all for the input in the conversation. Here at Law for Love, where the gender wars stop, we're going to find the truth, and we're going to find the love for our people once again by building stronger families and stronger communities. And with that, next Monday, we will be talking about the honeymoon. You don't want to miss it. I'm going in on the brothers, and I'm just giving you a fair warning. So with that, y'all, good night, peace and blessings, and be blessed.